Good morning. All right, so how excited are we?
Hello,
Oh, I have a lot of
good morning.
echoes going on right. All right, anyway, so I want to jump on here and talk to you guys about an event that I went to yesterday. It was for the ILEA organization, which is the International Live Event Association. But before I even dive into that, right, I am definitely getting accustomed to taking the train in New York. I feel like I've talked about this a couple times where I was like, I'm a little traumatized by it. And then I realized I have to fully acknowledge two things. The train, based on my observation, passes through all these different communities with all these different demographics and cultural nuances. And so if you sit on the train for about an hour, which is about how long it takes me to get to most places, from the Bronx, probably like 45 minutes to an hour, you are going to have a different experience probably like every 5 stops. Um, so taking the train in NYC is not as bad as I was making it out to be in the first place. Okay, anyway, switching back. So the ILEA event was kind of like a panel discussion cocktail mixer kind of vibe. They had all the great food and they had like all the great drinks. And I mean, at the very least, right, it's an event organization or sorry, event association. So, yeah, they had to come with the good stuff. And it was the panel was essentially centered around becoming a better connector, which I thought was really interesting. So clearly, I went. They held it at the Jaybird Cocktail Lounge in Brooklyn, right? Like, imagine schlepping it all the way from the Bronx to Brooklyn. But I'm really glad I went because I had a really great time. So I want to tell you a little bit more about ILEA. So they are the International Live Events Association, and they're basically like a global fund house of like event planning masters. And like imagine like a collective of like creative geniuses and like their brain is like buzzing with like brilliant ideas, like powering some of the most influential words, influential and awe-inspiring live events around the world. So, yep, that's essentially ILEA. So, the panel started off with this really cool experience from Lou Redman. So he used to be an event planner, and he basically described himself as like the worst coworker you could ever have because like 2 weeks before his last event within the industry, he just got up and quit. Um, because he wanted to make the best choices for himself, and even though that kinda sounds, like, really traumatizing, like, if you're, like, a part of a company that's hosting a major event, imagine if your event planner quits 2 weeks before. Whoa! Anyway, so it was pretty interesting, that's kinda how he started off his introduction, definitely piqued a lot of people's interest in the room. Um but he led us through this really cool guided meditation, and I kinda want to do the same with you guys. And hopefully I don't completely mess it up, right? So there are I think it's yeah, 4 particular things that he says, surrounding being happy, successful, fulfilled, and at peace. So, if you want to and I don't know why I did that. I don't know. I don't think I'm a shaman of some kind. But if you want to, you can join me, in it. Close your eyes, or as he said, you can just gaze at the ground if you're more comfortable with that. Um but it's I have everything right now to be happy. I have everything right now to be fulfilled. I have everything right now to be successful, and I have everything right now to be at peace. And for me, that was such like a really great way to start off the event. There was like a joke made like, "Oh, you got a room full of like event planners and marketers to like be quiet." Like how? Um, and it was pretty funny because like typically at these events, like there's like a lot of buzzing and like chatting and exchanging numbers and doing all the things, but it was a really nice, intimate, communicative, welcoming environment, right? So again, you guys know I'm not from New York, so coming into a room full of people that I don't know, solo dolo, was a little intimidating at first, but I always believe in, like, do it scared and do it anyway because you'll probably not regret the end result. Um, in that same event that we heard from, Eyal Tesler. He owns, I wanna say it's Tesler Events, Tessler, and he's been in business for about 10 years, at least his agency, but he's been in the industry for about 30 years. Um, and he one of the big things I took away from him was when you're choosing to go out there and be a connector and having these conversations and attending these events, don't let a person's title scare you away from introducing yourself because that in itself um, will kind of inhibit you from um, progress. Uh, And I mean, at the end of the day, and I totally co-sign it, right? Like, CEO is just a person just like you. And you might be probably giving them entirely more credit than you need to in terms of like who they are as a person. Like, they're fallible, right? They've probably been where you have been. They probably think you're amazing, but if you don't ever introduce yourself, then how would you possibly know? And then the next panelist was, Jessica Alton, which for me was I think she was super cool. So she's a caterer. She has about, like, 21 years, experience, and one of the gems, my favorite ones was, when you're going to, like, a networking event, you should bring someone that you, actually want to get to know to the event, and I was like, "Whoa, that's genius!" Because she's like, if you bring someone that you actually want to get to know, let's say you don't meet anyone else, at least you have someone else that you get to like continue to develop a relationship with and like create some kind of bond. So I think that's really cool. And then she also talked about like giving without looking for something in return. Um, being willing to make introductions and share resources, even if it does not like directly or immediately benefit you, and I think, like, that's actually really cool. So, it's kind of like another thing, right? So, yesterday, I asked a few contacts if they, knew anyone who might be interested in, like, sponsoring the IMEX Frankfurt Live, activation edition of my podcast, and I was, like, super moved by how the community kinda just, like, moved for me. Um, I don't know, they just wanted to support me in all my pursuits, and I know my heart was filled. One person even went so far as to say, like, "I'm always down to find a way to help you," um, because, it's an easy way for, me to reciprocate the way that you come through and help me without ever, having an ask, and I'm like, "Isn't that, like, super beautiful?" So, for me, I think that even, like, does, like, a really great transition into, talking about what's happening on the calendar later on this month, which is, of course, my free masterclass for event marketers and planners. So the masterclass is on May 31st at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm gonna go ahead and drop boom. There it is up on the screen, like a little link for you guys to go ahead, click, scan, whatever it is that you need to do. And in this masterclass, like imagine a haven of like corporate event leaders who are wary of, uninspiring event visuals, mundane graphics, and unreliable designers. Like I see you struggling with dwindling event budgets, scarce resources, and like in-house staff bottlenecks. Like I see you. We all know that time is of the essence and tight deadlines can stifle creativity. But we also know that the ultimate mission is to create events that linger in the memory, delight attendees, and really exceed company and client expectations. And that's the very reason I've created these master classes to arm you with the knowledge and tools that supercharge your graphic designers, maximize your in house staff's productivity, and morph your event visuals into unforgettable experiences. So the masterclass, uncovers gems like the significance of compelling event visuals, indispensable resources for your graphic designers, time management hacks for your in-house team, and the art of devising the perfect creative brief, because that's a thing, right? Having an awesome creative brief that your team can work from. And the cherry on top, of course, these master classes won't cost you anything, not a dime, not a drop, nothing. So, why am I doing this? Because I am about building communities and providing resources that can help my fellow event pros just like you. I want to also, let me see if I could drop this ticker. Boom, there goes the ticker. So if you are game to design memorable events, ramp up your in-house team's productivity, and outshine your company or client goals, hop onto our free monthly masterclass, RSVP today, and you know, thank you for tuning in. I'm buzzing with excitement to welcome you to our next masterclass. And if you are, and again, I can only speak for like the NYC area, right? But if you're in the NYC area, check out ILEA. Again, I had a really great time, and I think you might too. Alrighty, bye.